The story that you have seen today began many years ago. And it's the story that began 25 years ago. And I know many people in the room maybe have had a chance because there are many people that I have met said they've been to Kenya before and maybe they've seen the story. So in the year 1997, I was helping my husband, now President of Kenya, to campaign for the first time to become member of parliament for our region, a constituency that was then called Eldoret North. And as a young mother, I remember when I went to the villages, my daughter was 9 months old, and I wanted to go support him. So I went around the villages talking to women and youth, asking them to vote for him. And it was in this one meeting in one rural village. When I was going, I met some women seated on the side of the road. So I went to talk to them to ask them for votes. I was not even sure what I was saying because I had never been a politician. And in that group of women, about 50 of them, I saw one woman that was seated right in front of me. What I noticed about her was that she did not have shoes, but she had a broad smile. And so I remember wondering why she would come to a meeting like that without shoes. So I wondered then, how is her home? So I made a prayer to God and I said, if my husband makes it to parliament, I want to come back and do something about the lives of these women. And for sure, by the grace of God, he was elected. And we went to the city, and that picture never left my mind. And I kept wondering what I would do to the women of Eldoret North because I was looking for sustainability. And 12 years down the line, to cut the long story short, a friend of mine walked into my office and told me about the concept of table banking. And when I heard about table banking, which is a concept that had actually been modeled by the government of Kenya, I felt that was the thing to do. And one thing led to another. I went for training. I learned about table banking. And within a month, I was back in the constituency of Eldoret North, called women leaders, and we started talking about table banking. And that is where we are today.
So what are, for some people in the audience that maybe haven't been to Kenya, don't know, what are the primary challenges that Kenyan women face for economic independence, and what are some of the solutions that are being implemented to overcome these obstacles?
Some of the challenges our women face, even now that we are doing table banking, is issues of our cultures sometimes. And I know many things have now happened, especially now with the leadership of President Ruto. But of course, women have always been seen, as not being allowed to own some of the things, owning finances and, really like what Sarah said, women being on the table. So issues of finances have really hampered our women from growing because of our cultures. The other issue is literacy levels. Kenyans women, and especially many years ago, like I can talk the story about my mother who never went to school. She was illiterate. But I must say that really the government has done a lot to make sure that that has changed. But through what government is doing and through organizations like Joyful Women, like does the table banking, we have seen women move from, what they were initially to what they are today. And the government is doing a lot, the private sector is doing a lot, NGOs are doing a lot just to bring up the women of our nation. And let me just mention that the organization that we began, Joyful Women, that does table banking, was named Joyful Women because of that woman that did not have shoes, yet was very joyful. And what I have learned also in life is that you may not have everything, but you may have that joy that comes from within. So we've seen women in Kenya, even with the illiteracy levels, even with being not included financially, that they continue to work hard and they continue to be joyful and bring that joy to their families.
That's fantastic, and our communities. Elizabeth, I want to bring you into the conversation And I know that the government of Kenya has a women's agenda. And could you share some of the initiatives being instituted by the government to benefit women, and what are some of the policies in these initiatives?
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. I'm honored to be with you in this panel today. And the Business Council for International Understanding, thank you for having us to tell our story. Let me begin by appreciating Her Excellency in what she has said over this Women Economic Empowerment project. I was one of the many women that she personally explained the table banking concept and recruited to become a Joyful Woman member. She was humble in saying Joyful Women supports grassroots, but even us who are professionals, there's so much in it for us. She explained it literally herself. She was the first employee of Joyful Women, and she came round to talk to us herself. We bought into the concept instantly. She answered every question that we had, and you can imagine professionals bombarding her with questions, but she did so well, and we were all converted, and here we are. Thank you, Your Excellency. I had to say this. Thank you. Thank you. So it's something that comes from her heart, and she has infected us with it. She's a candle in our midst, and they say a candle loses nothing. When it lights, another candle. Let's spread this joy. So thank you for your question. Allow me to go into it right away. Our government, as Her Excellency has said, is very supportive of women initiatives, and it is taken it up into policy. And I'm glad we have one of our PSs around. She would say this better than I. But let me put it, thank you. Let me put it this way. Initially, in the old constitution that we had, there was nothing about us, the women. But the 2010 constitution came in to support us under what we call the 2/3 gender, the 1/3 gender role. This role has enabled women to arise into position. And I want to speak this more because of the private sector. The private sector normally has a way of, their policies are slightly different from government. Why? Because they're private. You may dictate the public sector, but you can't dictate the private sector. But under our governance in Kenya, we have embraced the 1/3 gender rule that says even in your employment and in your management, you have to include that rule, be it men or women. So in your management, if you have 10 men, if you have 10 members, 1/3 of it must be women. That's the constitution. Secondly, we have, under the same constitution, and in this government especially, we have 47 counties. And in it, we have the affirmative action, where every county has a woman representative elected into parliament. And so 47 guaranteed women from every constituency. Thank you. And not that alone, they have provided funding under the same affirmative action for these 47 MPs, members of parliament. And solely this fund is to be used to support women and youth enterprises. What a government. Thirdly, we have procurement rules where government have set the bar in how they source for their supplies across all government enterprises. 30% of those enterprises and government procurement engagements are reserved strictly for persons with disability, youth, and women. Why? Because we believe there's power in this group and they need to be empowered. Lastly, our government has created funds to enable women and youth and persons with disability to engage in their enterprises. I don't know whether you've heard of Hustler Fund. The term hustler is so synonymous to us in Kenya. We are hustlers, we say. And in hustling, we have decided not to leave the women and the youth and people with disability. So we have the Hustler Fund that you apply from your mobile phone and you get money in 2 minutes. Apart from that, we have what we call the Women Enterprise Fund. Qualification to apply for that loan, you must be a woman. And so our government is so supportive to cause us to be where we are. Watch this space. We are coming up as Kenyan women and as led by people like our patron, Her Excellency, Mama Rachel Ruto, and His Excellency, Dr. William Samuel Ruto. Thank you.
If you want to go far, go together. When I look at all these organizations in this room, I see them partnering with Kenya. I see them partnering with Mama Doing Good, especially in capacity building and livelihood projects and so many other things, financial inclusion, because we all have different callings and we all have different talents. So I see us partnering and walking this journey together. The women of Kenya need capacity building in different areas, in financial inclusion and issues like that. We need finances to be able to do what we are doing, because I believe that even the organization that here have to get finances from somewhere to be able to do what they are doing. So I see the Business Council Institute helping Mama Doing Good and the women of Kenya in this area of capacity building and other things as we may discuss going forward.
Exactly. Access to finance and capacity building. So this is where we turn it to you to give the call of action of what each of us as an organization and entity in this room can do with the government of Kenya and with your office to really go farther together.
So the great opportunities in Kenya and the Global South in general, and I'm sure you know that Africa and even Kenya has a very youthful and young population, and majority of those are women. So we are saying, let's walk this journey together. We have a new government led by Dr. Ruto. And like Elizabeth said, we have the bottom-up economic transformation that we have in our nation, which is agriculture, MSME, health, and great opportunities that we have in our nation. So we are calling all of us, partners in this house, to be able to partner, for example, in agriculture, in health, in the digital superhighway, as we've been told, because digital transformation in Kenya is really great and very big. So we are looking at just partnering with all of us to be able to do this for the people of Kenya and for the women of Kenya. The opportunities are great. Yesterday, you must have heard the president at the White House talking about the renewal of AGOA, which is, the act that he asked President Biden that it can be renewed. This will help, opportunities from Africa and specifically from Kenya come to the US. We were in Atlanta, Georgia the other day, and we opened one of the stores called Vivo. And these are opportunities that have come to the US from Kenya. And so we are saying that let's partner, let's walk this journey together so that we can do a lot for the people of Kenya and for the women of Kenya. And so we are looking at the people in this room to be able to say, let's do it together. Let's walk this journey together.